Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and today we are at the wheel of a 1966 Humber Imperial, one of the plushest cars you could buy in the mid to late 60s here in Britain. Come along for the ride, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe before you do. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and today we're looking at something a little bit different from our last couple of videos, because this is very much a product of Britain's post-war class system, a time when the bank manager, managing director of your company had to have something that was certainly a cut above you, and not just an M badge pasted on the back of his BMW as opposed to today. This is a Humber Imperial. So the all-new Humber Super Snipe came out in 1958. It was designed by the two Teds, Ted White and Ted Green, with a lot of influence from Raymond Loewy, the noted legendary industrial designer who actually had an office in London and consulted on the design, so hence the very, very American influence scheme of things. It looks almost a spit of a 1955 Chevy, more so after the Series 3 when it gained twin headlights. Prior to this, only single headlights on the Super Snipe. Come along the Series 4-5 and we got a flattened off roof, making it look far more modern, more sleek, more elegant. But then Humber and Roots in general needed a halo car, something big and posh at the top to take on the Rover P5, the Austin Princess 4-litre, these kind of big, not quite Rolls Royces, but not far off, kind of very executive, very expensive cars. About £2,000 back in the mid-60s was a lot of money. So they needed something to replace the now retired Pullman range, which was this, the Imperial, resurrecting a name last used in 1953. So when you chose the Imperial, you're basically getting a Super Snipe, but with every options box already ticked. Externally, there are a few little things to distinguish yourself from the lower ranks, the lower orders. First of all, you've got your vinyl roof as standard. You could choose the new metallic and pearlescent paints, which are an exciting new technology just emerging onto the market, and so very popular indeed. And at the front, fog and spotlights, again as standard, because every box ticked. But it was inside the car where you really felt the difference, because this is where all the luxury happened. Now, climbing aboard, as well as the wood which you got on the Super Snipes anyway, you'll find every surface virtually is covered in this beautiful West of England cloth. This was the standard option in all of the Imperials. Also on the headlining as well, West of England cloth headlining, a very nice option. You could also have chosen to have a no-cost option of leather, but many people chose this because it is very nice indeed. And on the floor we have our Wilton carpet, of course. Now, climbing across, we have got a beautiful slab of very shiny wood all the way across the car. Again, this is the standard item from the Super Snipe. However, the optional 3-speed automatic is now standard in this car. And moving down here, we've got a very interesting option. Here we have the Selector Ride, so we can choose how hard the ride is in the back of the car. This is done by Armstrong, who made the shock absorbers, new and exciting technology. And also, because a lot of these cars were chauffeur driven, so you had a man sitting in the front doing the hard work while you were sitting in the back enjoying the luxury. You can choose the splits between the music on the radio show front to rear, so all to the front, all to the back, or shared 50-50. Now, there's lots of equipment. For a 1960s car, there is plenty of gear in here. Speedometer up to 120 miles an hour. A Jaeger fuel gauge showing 16 gallons of capacity. That's a lot of fuel in today's money. And of course we have our little gauges here, nicely clustered in a single dial, matching the speedometer. Being the Imperial with the optional spot and fog lights, we have switches for these down here, and a wash wipe switch just here, rather than on a stalk. It's here on a pull-out on the dashboard. Air conditioning was an option for the American market cars, but over here in the UK, didn't really turn up. Just regular, ordinary, blown air. However, we do have another little ace up our sleeve here on the Imperial. Down here beside the driver's seat, we have a control for the heater demister for the rear of the car. There's hot air can be sent to the back seat passengers in this car. Very, very unusual in the 1960s. And finally, here in the car we have got a radio, because radio was an expensive option in the 1960s. Again, standard speaker up here, speaker in the rear parcel shelf, and this is a little optional extra because that's only medium wave and long wave. This is a bit like the USB plugins you get now for your phone, but this is an FM to medium wave transmitter, so you can play your FM to the medium wave radio. Now, the seats that I'm sitting on have the option already ticked as a reclining seat, which is again a very nice option to have. We have armrests which fold down, we have seat belts even. And look at the quality of the lovely chrome on literally everything. Chrome door handle, chrome window winders, and of course we have our quarter lights. Something we all miss really, isn't it? Let's have a quick look in the back. Now, as we move into the back, there's a lot more American influence happening. The wraparound windscreen is very more mid-Atlantic, and this door stepping in here to give you a bit of access for your feet, but then stepping underneath there to climb in the car. And the Chevy influence comes back here to this little step-up kink here in the back door. Very cool, very unique for the British market. And we have another opening quarter light here as well. The doors open extremely wide, so if you're in all your finery, if you're carrying your briefcase, you can step in with ease. You'll notice down here on the front and the back, I have coachwork by Thrupp and Maberly of London. These cars did a lot of miles prior to actually being delivered to the customer. We'll talk all through that in a minute, we're on the road. But first of all, let's have a look at the interior. We have got the same West of England cloth, which is a lovely sort of hard but soft material, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but trust me, it is. Huge armrest, which is wider than the seats in some cars. And on the floor, like in a Rolls Royce, we have these lovely thick rugs, wool rugs. Amazing quality, nicer than the carpet in pretty much everyone's house I've ever seen. And because posh 1960s British car, we've got tray tables which fold down. Let's climb in and see how it feels. Oh, lovely. Very, very comfortable. We have got lots of headroom. The seat, you just sink into it, and it's very, very nice indeed of a place to be. We have got many options in here, options that were included here for customers of the Imperial. Additional lights. First of all, you've got your extra reading light here, and then you have your extra reading light here, which folds down and pops on the moment you put it down. You have more of the same fabric in this hand grab just here. And over on the door, a cigar lighter, not a cigarette lighter, a cigar lighter, and an ashtray in the armrest. Again, more wood, more of this West of England, lots of fun things. Now, I mentioned we've got heating and ventilation back here. Down here at foot level, we've got vents on both sides so that warm air can be blown around your ankles and keep you warm up there. And up here in the back of the car, a demister, which blows air over your shoulders and demists the rear window, because you'll notice there's not an actual electric demister in the glass. And we have twin speakers here in the back parcel shelf. And one final thing here in the back, Imperial only, a courtesy light to warn passing traffic you have opened your door and someone important is climbing out. One more little nice touch, this is standard to all of the Super Snipes and so forth, is a hidden petrol cap here behind the reflector. Is where we pump our gas. Who knew? One thing which is absolutely astonishing you can still find here on a car this late and this expensive is a crank handle hole. So behind this little blanking plate there is actually a hole so you can put a handle through there and manually crank the car to start. Astonishing. So here under the very, very long bonnet indeed, we have got the 3-litre 2965cc straight 6. This is basically an Armstrong Siddeley unit. Now apparently this was taken in and worked over by a guy called Harry Westlake, but looking at the blueprints from both engines, there's apparently very little difference indeed to see what he actually did. This being the Imperial, it gets twin Zenith Stromberg carburetors. So in 1964, when the Series 5 came out and the Imperial, they switched over to these Zenith Stromberg twin 175 carburetors, which increased the power to 137.5 horsepower for a bit more oomph. Other little niceties for this particular car, as well as power brakes, which the entire range had, we have got power steering, which the rest of the range didn't get unless you paid the optional extra for. And here, spurring off the hot water for the heater matrix, we've got an extra pipe and an extra tap. This bit of plumbing, this goes to the back of the car to warm the rear seat occupant. Now, something you may notice as you walk around one of these cars is, considering how big this vehicle is, just how narrow the tyres are by modern standards. They're really astonishingly narrow. So climbing inside, we have got static seat belts as standard in the Imperial, and it's a column mounted automatic gearbox, a Borg-Warner Type 35. Handbrake is down on the side of the seat, like on a Jaguar, so you've got the bench seat effect here. And off we go. So lots and lots of torque, not massively fast acceleration, around 11 to 12 seconds or so, 0 to 60, but this is about comfort rather than speed. And in mid-60s, 11 seconds 0 to 60 was actually quite fast. The gearbox is a Borg-Warner Type 35. Technically it is a 3-speed gearbox, although in actuality it's more of a 2-speed slush box, with the D1 being a very, very low crawler gear. The main impression you get behind the wheel is of solidity and well, substance really. It feels strong and heavy, as you can feel rolling into the corner right now. The power steering is very, very well assisted indeed. So it doesn't take really any effort at all to get round a corner. In the traditional style of British cars of the time, we have got the indicator here on the right hand side of the wheel, which is considered by many to be the correct side. Far easier to use. Now, the brakes are interesting, they're very strong, but they're so subtle. Come on, car. It's actually my foot all the way down. It's a very smooth car, designed ultimately for extreme comfort of the people in the back. Although many people, like the bank manager, might have driven himself to work in his Imperial, a lot of them were chauffeur driven, so the guy in the front would be doing his best to keep a smooth ride for the guy in the back. And you could even choose a limousine version with a little bit more length in the car and a partition between the front and the back. Right, I'll try and get this right while we're sitting in traffic. So, this car's only done about 60,000 miles in its entire life, which is hardly anything at all. In fact, they probably did about the same as that prior to delivery. They started off at British Light Steel Pressings, who stamped the panels and assembled the body. Then it was off to Coventry, where the car was assembled, painted, mechanical parts fitted. Then it was put on the back of a truck and sent down to Thrupp and Maberley in Cricklewood, where they did all the nice stuff, the vinyl roof, the fancy headlining, the luxury touches, before going back to Coventry for finishing touches, and then to the dealer. So it did a fair old whack, and people wonder how the British car industry didn't make a profit in those days. Madness. It is incredibly light and easy to drive. The hydraulic power steering is, well, a lot of assistance really. It gives its all, so you are quite, not jittery exactly, but you have to use the tiniest of inputs, little inputs all the time to keep it on the straight and narrow. And you really don't feel bumps and crashes at all in the road. It just glides over everything. It's got coil springs at the front and leaf springs in the back, and that's an arrangement that works well in this situation. So, although this was an extremely expensive and luxurious car, it wasn't the most expensive of its rivals. The Vanden Plas came in around £1,800, so £100 more, and for another £100 on top of that, you could have had the Rover. So, although it was expensive, it wasn't the most expensive option you could have chosen. This might not be the car you choose to go out every day in, but I can see why you would take it out on many occasions. It's very nice to be in. This fabric is extremely nice to sit on. Oh, it's a lovely engine note. It's very quiet, very well muffled by the sound deadening and things.
Absolutely.
Something you may have noticed there aren't any door mirrors on this car, only a central one, so dual carriageways take a little bit of extra concentration. But this is a modern fancy dipping mirror. Some hoi polloi comes up behind you with his high beams on, you can dip him away and ignore him. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this ride out in this slice of extreme British luxury from the mid-60s. It's been a real pleasure driving this, so thank you to the owner for letting me out in it today. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please do hit like and subscribe, and join us again next time driving something completely different.